What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the shop in a new series that I am calling What Would Tyler Do? And I'm going to need your help, but stick around to the end where I ask you. Now, what would Tyler do in a situation where I am getting burnout like you see right here? What is going on with my table saw that is causing that when I should be getting this? So I made some adjustments and I started getting this. Let me show you what I did.
So several years ago, with a not so good quality camera, I did a video on tuning this exact table saw when I first got it. So I will link to that if you want to watch in more detail how to tune up a contractor saw like this. And a contractor saw is a key word right here. So there's three styles of table saw, I guess. There's contractor, there's a cabinet, and then there's this new thing called a hybrid, which honestly I'm not sure exactly what the difference between the hybrid and everything else is. But a contractor saw has the trunnions, which is the mechanism that allows you to raise and lower and tilt the blade on the table saw connected to the table, versus a cabinet saw, which has those trunnions attached to the cabinet itself and provides a much more stable base. So what is the trick that we're going to do today? And it is a little L bracket mechanism, something I'm pulling off right now, called a PALS from In-LineIndustries. PALS stands for Precision Alignment and Locking System. Cost about 20 bucks and is very, very simple to install. And the big key is that it allows you micro adjustments without using a hammer to whack things into place. So how do you put them on? Very easy. You remove the bolt that originally holds the trunnion into place. And I already had this bolt in, but you got to basically jam the two nuts onto the bolt to drive that threaded rod. It's not a bolt into place. Remove the nuts and then you can install the PALS system just like I'm showing you right now. You don't want this super tight at first because you do need to be able to make those micro adjustments as I'm showing you right now.
Now that we got the PALS installed in the back, our blade is going to be all out of parallel with the miter slots of the table, which those miter slots should also be perpendicular to your fence slide, which makes the fence parallel to those miter slots. So all of that needs to align, and now we need to go back and make sure that our blade aligns with those. What I'm going to do is put my miter gauge into the miter slot. I'm going to clamp a little, I think this is called a micrometer on here, onto the miter gauge. I'm going to run it up against the blade of the table saw. We need to make sure the front and back are aligned perfectly with each other. If not, running a little bit away from the fence. We'll explain that in a minute.
In just a second here, you'll see me slide the dial indicator across the blade to make a measurement. Not really the best way to do it because I could be measuring an inconsistency in the blade. You actually want to rotate the blade so you're in the same spot all the time.
I have the gauge reading 0 right here. You want to make sure that you gently push your miter gauge against the side, a side of the miter slot. Doesn't matter which side as long as you're consistent there. And now I'm going to slide it towards the back of the blade, towards you guys. And as you can see, I have about a 5/1000th of an inch run out. That's going this way, which is away from the fence, which is good because that's not going to make any wood pinch here between the blade and the fence. So we do want a little bit of run out away from the fence, but not quite 5/1000ths of an inch. I'm looking for something more along the lines of 3/1000ths of an inch. And this is where our PALS are really going to help us out here in just a second. We do want to make sure that we have these loose enough that we can actually move the trunnion side to side a little bit. We don't want completely loose, just enough that we can push it around. Then I got my PAL adjustment screws loose right here. Want to go that way about 2/3/1000ths of an inch. So I'm just going to tighten this PAL adjustment screw up against the trunnion, if I can get it in there. And we should see that indicated right on the dial indicator. Once you have it where you want it, go ahead and tighten these down nice and tight, and you should be good to go. These really help with getting you fine-tune adjustment with not having to knock it back and forth by hand, and it does help hold it in place. Right about 3/1000ths of an inch, which is what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this other PAL up against the trunnion and lock that locking nut into place. It's also now time to make sure that our trunnion bolts are nice and snug because this whole thing can slide unless we have these nice and tight. Again, we just loosened them so that we could slide things around. Not completely loose, but definitely not torqued down.
I will also link to a video where I go over how I installed the dust collection on this Contractor saw. Usually it's wide open in the back, dust everywhere, but I did block things in a little bit and add a dust port.
As you can see, we have had a stark improvement in the cut quality right here. Something was definitely pinched and burning that, and I had to do a lot of sanding to get the burn marks out of there and any blade marks. Now there's really nothing to speak of on this cut right here, so that's going to take almost no sanding, which is going to save a ton of time. So a very cheap little item from In-LineIndustries there that I happened to stumble across a couple of years ago. Highly recommended if you have a Contractor table saw. Pay attention to the model that they have because the trunnion bolt size does change depending on the model that you have. I have a good old made in US of A Delta Contractor saw with cast iron top right here. It might be getting time to upgrade this, but it's been a trooper for me so far. Anyway, what do I need your help for, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video? So, what would Tyler do is going to be the name of this series. So I would like some questions in the comments below. Send me an email. Send me a DM on Instagram or something like that and ask me some woodworking questions. So Tyler, what would you do if you had to do box joints on a router? And I will take that question and provide a solution here on YouTube in the What Would Tyler Do series for that person that asked the question, and obviously all 300 and plus something thousand of all y'all that might be interested. I hope you guys enjoyed that little video and it helped some of you out. If it did, please hammer that thumbs up button as it helps us out and gets this video in front of more eyes. I'm DIYTyler, that's what Tyler would do, and I will see you guys next time.